There's a psychologist named Rudine Sims Bishop who says that books should be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors, meaning that books are a mirror where the reader can see themselves in the book, windows where they can look into other worlds or see how other people live, and sliding glass doors where they actually bring the reader into the world and make them feel a part of the world. So these studies show that when children see themselves in books, they're more likely to read, their academic performance increases. And so that's why it's important that we have these diverse books available.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by the GoingNorthPodcast.com shop. It is going to help you have northbound direction to your own success. If you want a great inspirational quote like advance others to advance yourself, or today a reader, tomorrow a leader, heck, even some puns like pile on and always fully booked on your tote bag, mug, hoodie, heck, even a t-shirt, and many, many other items, head over to GoingNorthPodcast.com, click on the shop tab, and cop yourself some merchandise indeed. And that's GoingNorthPodcast.com/shop. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of the best websites on the planet Earth today, especially for podcast hosts, known as Podmatch.com. Indeed, where if the guest is cold, they're freaking in. Today's guest is colder than 3 cucumbers, indeed, because we got an award-winning author, y'all. That's right, indeed. And she's also a lovely mom, as well as a wife, and also a freelance writer who is putting so many books out there to help children succeed. So let's give it up for the TDE. And we ain't talking about Top Dog Entertainment, but we're talking about Tonya Duncan Ellis. How you doing today, Tonya?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Woohoo! It's great having you on, indeed, especially when we get the children's book authors out there. That's right, indeed, is doing lots and lots of good work.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here to share information about my children's books.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. Yes, ma'am, indeed. So, my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 150 years long, and I probably forgot, I don't know, 149.5 years of content. So, am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you on how you became the Tanya that you are today?
Well, I don't know if you mentioned, but I'm a Houston-based children's author. I've written 13 chapter books in my best-selling Sophie Washington series, which is geared toward kids ages 8 to 12. And the series stars an 11-year-old girl named Sophie and her diverse group of friends. In each book, they do things like make friends, stand up to bullies, learn how to manage their schoolwork, learn how to manage social media play and video, setting limits on playing social media and video games. So they deal with common tween issues that kids are facing in society today. And in each book, they solve the problem and learn gentle lessons. So I started writing the books about 10 years ago. I released the latest Sophie Washington Treasure Beach last summer, and the books have caught on well in my community in Houston, spreading worldwide. I've sold over 150,000 copies, so I'm really excited about that. And the main thing that not only having the sales is wonderful, of course, but the main aim that I had when I started the series was to inspire children to enjoy reading and to read. And I'm proud to say that I've received letters from parents, grandparents, teachers thanking me for the series because the relatable stories have encouraged reluctant readers to read and been something that has inspired a lot of kids. So I'm really happy that I've been able to do that with the series. And then next,
Woohoo!
Yes, yes. And next year, I will be releasing my first picture book, which is called They Built Me for Freedom. It's my first traditionally published book, or well, I had one book in my series was picked up by Scholastic. One of the Sophie Washington books was purchased by Scholastic in 2021. But I have a book deal for a new picture book called They Built Me for Freedom that focuses on Juneteenth and the history of Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas, where the first Juneteenth celebration was held. So that book will release in spring 2024. So I'm really gearing up for that. And I'm so excited that this book is being published by HarperCollins.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, it sounds like two different publishing companies, two different contracts. My goodness, that's freaking amazing. And 150,000 copies. Like, dude, some folks wish they sold 150 copies.
Yes, it's just a blessing for me to be able to get my stories out to children. It was a passion for mine to write. I've worked as a journalist, freelance magazine writer, so I've written my entire life. And so I feel so blessed and privileged to be able to, earn a salary doing this or get the reward so that I can continue to write my stories and inspire children.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, so what do you think is the major reason for your book selling success? Do you think it's because of your love for your current hometown, which is basically your new home for 16 plus years?
I do say that Houston, my books are kind of like a love letter to Houston because all but one in the Sophie Washington series take place in Texas. Most of them are centered in Houston as a primary setting. So it highlights things in the community like the diversity of the people who live here. It also shows unique things in the city like the rodeo. We have alligators in our neighborhoods in the suburbs, which is where Sophie, the main character, and her friends live. Wild boar, it shows the Texas bluebonnet. So it shows all the unique things that go on in this community. But I would also attribute, and also Houston is the fourth largest city in the country. So I participated in a lot of events in my community, meeting many librarians and teachers and parents. So and they shared pictures of the book and children with the book on social media. So that was one way that it helped get visibility for my book nationwide. So I think Houston did play a big role in that, or me living here. But also the stories are relatable, and many people have told me that they focus on an African American family that is more centered on Black joy, and you'll see that many books that star a Black character are more historical or trauma stories. So there was kind of a lack in the market for these type stories, especially when my books first started coming out. So I think that also is something that appealed to people of all races. Also, there's a very diverse cast of characters in the book. So that appealed to all, different types of children.
Yeah, you're so right indeed, because that's one of the major areas in the industry where folks are really lacking, at least for folks. And I know it's geared towards everybody, but especially the Black community, like having some Black joy themes as opposed to the other stereotypes you may see or the lack of anything really positive out there. So that's definitely something that's a gift to the world that we've been needing for a long time. I'm glad you decided to take that route indeed, because it's something we've been needing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I enjoy writing the stories. It's fun for me because I'm sharing lived experiences of my children and their friends. So I find that kids just find the stories relatable. And it's important for kids to see themselves in books they read because studies show that when books, well, there's a psychologist named Rudine Sims Bishop who says that books should be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors, meaning that books are a mirror where the reader can see themselves in the book. windows where they can look into other worlds or see how other people live, and sliding glass doors where they actually bring the reader into the world and make them feel a part of the world. So these studies show that when children see themselves in books, they're more likely to read, their academic performance increases. And so that's why it's important that we have these diverse books available. It also gives empathy for people when they're reading about different cultures and races. People become more empathetic and understanding of differences, which make for a more harmonious society.
Woohoo! Indeed. Gotta love the harmony indeed. Hashtag harmonious society. You love to see it. Y'all love to see it indeed. So my goodness, so being a mom too on top of that, like how has it been being able to balance all the book writing and story creating along with raising the kids and with them eventually reading the books too, I imagine.
Right. Well, my kids now are young adults, but when I started writing 10 years ago, I would get up at like, and I'm an early bird, so I am a morning person. So I would get up like 5 in the morning so that I could write. So I made sure that I had that time, especially when I get into a project, I really get immersed in the world of the characters. So that made it, I had certain goals and it made it easier for me to reach those goals. Because if I wait until later in the day, I have other jobs and responsibilities that would take me from finishing. So I made sure that I would get up, and it was hard sometimes, but I would get up about an hour earlier than normal so that I could get those words each day and reach all of my writing goals. So that's how I was able to get so many books done. And then also with the Sophie Washington series, once I finished the first two books, those took me a little bit longer to finish. But because I had created the world and the characters and kind of knew how they would act, I introduced one or two new characters per book. So that it was just easier for me to write as I moved along in the series to complete the books at a quicker pace.
Ah, as I'm talking about indeed, as I'm talking about indeed. And it's great that you're able to find your writing rhythm like that and be able to produce books a lot faster too, because kids read books so fast these days.
Right, because the readers would want the book, they would finish it and then they want the next one in the series. So while they were enjoying them, I actually had some groups of book clubs who there were these cute little girls. They would read a book a month and then have a sleepover, and then they would act out scenes from the book or do crafts related to the book. And they would send me pictures. They would dress up as the characters. So it was so sweet. So that encouraged me because I knew the kids were waiting for the next book. So I had to get it ready for them.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. And that's just the power of good content right there, especially when you gear the right group of, well, just a group period, like ages group, gearing it towards kids, and then them being able to do that too. Like, I, so how was it? How does it feel to get those messages and those photos back where it just bust out and like tears of joy? Like, oh my gosh, this is freaking amazing.
Yes, actually, I remember one day because as an author, my job it's up and down with my emotions because even now I'm on what's called submission for a new book. Now I have a literary agent, and there's a lot of rejection that goes into it because they send the book out and there may be, you'll get emails, no, we don't want it, or we pass. So you can feel kind of discouraged. And at that particular day, one day I was discouraged about something. This is before I even had an agent. And it's a lot of work doing this for not much pay. And I was like, oh, can I keep on? And I got a picture of a little girl dressed as a character in my book. There's a book called Sophie Washington Hurricane, where on the cover she has a pink cowboy hat and a pink Houston Strong t-shirt. And the little girl had it on in the picture and was holding the book. So those things really just warm my heart, and I feel like I'm a part of these children's childhood, just like my favorite books from childhood stay with me today. And I feel a big sense of responsibility to the readers, but it does feel so good to see them accepting these books and, really relating to them.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, my goodness, so what would you consider your top three mistakes for authors to avoid when it comes to promoting and selling their books?
One thing that I think is a big mistake is if you are involved with social media, flooding your feed with buy my book posts. I think you need to, people are interested in your author's life and journey. They don't want to just be sold to continuously. So I think that is a mistake. And there's a rule, kind of an 80-20 rule, maybe make about 20% of your post promotional, and then the rest more behind the scenes, showing how your process as an author or you participating in events and things like that. And then on the flip side, a mistake I think authors make with marketing is not talking about their book at all. You still have to promote yourself, believe in yourself. So I think that's a mistake. They may miss some opportunities by not talking about what they're doing, and having imposter syndrome or feeling shy about talking about their work and what they're doing. So that can be a mistake in marketing. And then not planning, I think, is a mistake. If you're just haphazardly doing different marketing activities, but not setting goals and targets, planning and kind of evaluating the results, because a lot of people just throw a lot of money out there on ads or different things, but they don't analyze the results of their marketing activities. So those are a few mistakes I see people making. And some I've done some of those mistakes myself in the past.
Good deal. Good thing to know. Good thing to know indeed. Because yeah, haphazard thing. Yeah, a lot of folks start off with that. I was like, man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Okay, let's throw this on the wall. Spaghetti. Does it stay on the wall? Oh, good, it stayed. All right.
Right. And then but at least look at what stays on the wall and try to repeat that. Don't just keep slapping things on the wall and not looking at what the results are.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. Yes, ma'am, indeed. So my goodness. So planning on staying in the children's room, or do you have any aspirations or goals to moving into maybe adult fiction, maybe a nonfiction book in the future?
I right now will be staying in writing children's literature. The different genres of literature are very different. So, for example, when I write picture books are kind of like poetry. It may seem like a simple thing because they're 500 to 1,000 words, but it can take me days to craft a manuscript for picture book. I really love the artistry in writing picture books because they're more, I write in kind of a lyrical style with picture books. So there's a lot involved in that. So writing a children's book is much different than writing an adult. There's actually 5 levels of children's book. There's board books, picture books, early readers, chapter books, middle grade, young adult. So that would be 6. So there's different types of books for children with different word lengths you have to hit. You have to look at the language and certain things. The themes are different depending on the age range you're writing for. So to move to an adult book would be having to learn a whole different thing in my craft. And I have a friend who's a romance writer who lives here in Houston, and we had lunch one day, and she's like, well, why do you write for kids? And her books are these steamy, really racy books, and they're totally different than what I'm writing. But I guess it's just what's in your heart, because I've always loved children's books. I started writing them after I would read with my kids, sharing my favorite children's books with them. And I have 2 sons and a daughter, and my youngest son, he like totally didn't relate to any of the books I read from way back when. And that was kind of what encouraged me to write my stories too, because I said, I could write something that he would relate to and that he would like. But it's something in me. I don't know what it is. I still read a lot of children's books, also just for my own craft, and I read adult books and nonfiction, but I gravitate toward writing for children for some reason. And I don't even know what it is, and I love kids too. I've always been around kids, working as like a room mom, volunteering with children. So that's kind of just my gift, I guess, is relating to children. So I can't see myself moving to writing for adults at this point. I might write a nonfiction book like on book marketing or something like that for authors. I could see myself doing that, but I don't see myself writing an adult novel at this point.
Ah, there you go. That's right. Tonya loves the kids, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's why the book does so well. The books do so well because she loves the kids. That's right,
And I
indeed.
do
Yes, she
love the
does.
kids. I love children. It's funny to me, when I was younger, I would never have imagined myself doing this, but I've always, even before I started writing for children specifically, I've always been that person that did things with kids. So I just love young people and children.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And now she can call herself a prolific award-winning writer because the kids enjoy the stories and they keep on cooking. They keep on being cranked out, indeed. So, my goodness. So, with your writing journey thus far, what would you consider your biggest setback that actually became your biggest success?
I'd say the biggest setback for me is when I started out, I went with a hybrid company. And what that is a company that will just do all the publishing for you because I was a self-publisher. And so I didn't know what I was doing. And then, I just gave my book to them. And they, as my book started growing, they actually were keeping my royalties.
Oh,
And
no.
this was early on. So then I got the rights back to they had like my first 3 books. So I got the rights back from them and learned how to do everything from the ground up for publishing. And then once I did that, my books just took off the sales. So it was very frustrating. I was very upset at the time, but it helped me learn all about publishing and different things and helped me become more determined to make my books a success too when that happens. So I see it as a growth time for me. And also because I learned a lot about publishing and self-publishing, now I've been asked to speak on self-publishing and been paid for that. And I've been paid to do it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me that I might not have had otherwise.
Woohoo! Congratulations. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And man, like that sucks the company did that, but it's like, sadly, that's not even barely the tip of the iceberg with some things that happen in the publishing industry, sadly. But glad you're able to get that all straightened out and escape from that deal, because my goodness, that's definitely gotta suck.
Right, I'm glad. And that company, I think it's been sued now and it's out of business. But yeah, there was a lesson to learn. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
good. I'm glad. All right. They need to be going for that.
Yeah,
Shoot.
that's right.
Because
That's
the sad
right.
part is if they did it to you, they probably did it to quite a few other people.
Right, they did. Those are the ones that had a lawsuit against them and got them. Because I was happy I got out before my books really took off. So they didn't get that. They got like $200-300 from me. But I was like, I better get my books out of here before they keep taking my money. So yeah.
Good deal. Good deal indeed. So, my goodness. So, the magical book coming out next spring, if I'm not mistaken, Built Me for Freedom, the magical picture book indeed. That's going to be lighting up the eyes of folks who's going to be reading it. If that book were a food, what would it be and why?
If it was a food, it would be barbecue because that's one of the foods that is eaten during the Juneteenth celebrations. And also, Houston's known for making delicious barbecue and smoked meat.
You. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Good old barbecue indeed. That's right indeed. I was almost thought you were gonna say peanut M&Ms for a second.
I
Yeah.
like peanut M&Ms, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. And is the book up for pre-order yet?
We haven't had an official release date or pre-order date. But since it's about Juneteenth, I imagine it's going to be out maybe in May, April or May of the spring, 2024.
Ah, good deal. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Let's hope they have the sense to do that.
Oh, they'll do it. They want their money, so they're going to get it out. Because I have another author who is with my publisher who had a book on another part of Juneteenth. And it's so cool because I live in Houston. So 40 minutes from here is Galveston, Texas. And that's where they announced Juneteenth, where they announced that the enslaved people were free. And there's this huge mural they just painted a couple years ago in the exact spot where the announcement was made and the enslaved people learned they were free. And so another author, he wrote a book about Juneteenth. It's called Juneteenth. And he's with my publisher, and he had this huge, media tour this past year. So seeing him gets me even more hyped up and excited. Like, yes, hopefully they'll have this for me, because they had all that for him in his book. And that mural, if you're ever in the Houston area and you get a chance to go see it, it is amazing. It's a beautiful mural in Galveston, Texas, at the spot where they announced that the enslaved people were free. So
Hooray.
yeah, we have so much history. And my book is about that park. And the amazing thing is I just visited the park. This is before Juneteenth was a holiday. And I'm like, man, I've been going by this park for years. And why does no one know about it? I love learning about history. And I go to all these different historical places. And I was like, no one knows that this park, my ancestors ran in this park. They came here when they learned they were free and celebrated, and it's been there for 150 years. So I'm so excited to share this story with people and get them to learn more about the park.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Because definitely folks need to learn because there's a lot of stuff coming out to light these days on a major scale and not just in your own neighborhood anymore, which
Right.
is definitely a great thing too. It's like, all right, cool. Let's bring this age of connection a lot further into the forefront indeed because folks definitely need to know because they ain't going to get it in their traditional classes.
Right. They need to know, and it's good for everybody to know all the contributions that make our country what it is. So, everyone needs to be aware of what's going on. So, and it's so much rich history all around our nation and the world that people need to know.
Woohoo! That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So I'm guessing that means you got even more books planned after this wonderful Built for Freedom book, I imagine.
I actually do. My publisher they bought another book from me, and I've been working on some other books. So I'm actually part of a group called 12 by 12 Picture Book Challenge, where we write 12 manuscripts, one a month for the year. So I've been working on a lot of different manuscripts for the future. So I'm excited to hopefully get those out.
Oh wow, okay. So I'm guessing the 12 are already done then, or did you just start the challenge?
Well, no, they're not done. I didn't finish it. I started it last year and I didn't do 12, but this year I'm determined to do 12. So I've gotten, what is it? It's August now. I have 7 written. The one I did for July isn't that good. It's not done. The main thing is it gets you writing and creating, so that you can get polished works ready, to sell. And that helped me because actually I worked on They Built Me for Freedom in that 12 by 12 community, and the other book I sold, which I can't say hasn't been announced. So I can't give too many specifics on that one. But I wrote both of them during the time when I joined that 12 by 12 group that I sold to HarperCollins. So for me, it's like a creative community of other writers, and we help critique each other's work. And it's like gives me a lot of energy being in that group. So I really love that.
Sweet. Good deal indeed. Good deal indeed. And that kind of seems to be the magic number for a challenge. It's like, yep, write 12 books in 12 months. You can freaking do it. If you do it, you get like 6 figures indeed. That's right. If you're able to do it indeed. And heck, even not just for the prospect of the financial freedom, but just the hard work and the craft of like just honing your skills like that and be able to get your sense of completion done at a higher rate and build up that confidence. Like that's freaking huge.
Yeah, that's the main thing is it gets you really working and producing. And then you have all these, like a community of other writers. So it's encouraging to get you to do it. And even if you don't get 12, like last year, I wrote maybe 5 or 6. So that was more than I would have done on my own with the picture book. So I like being in that group.
Sweet. So I'm talking about indeed. So I'm talking about indeed. So it sounds like Tony's telling folks if you're a writer, join the community. That's right, indeed. Join
Yes.
a magical community.
Yes. Even if you write longer books, get in a critique group to help you. And that'll help you get your work, up to speed with how it just help you grow as a writer. So I advise everybody to get in a critique group. And it's encouragement because this is a hard business. There's a lot of rejection. It's sometimes difficult. You write something and think, oh, this is terrible. But it's good to have other people who understand what you're going through and want to do. Because sometimes I think, why do I want to do this? It can be kind of frustrating, but I just love doing it. As long as they keep reading, I'll keep writing.
Woohoo! That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you'd wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Just to be patient with myself, to celebrate every achievement along the way, because it's all about the process. Enjoy each day, enjoy each step, and be patient and gentle with yourself.
Sweet. That's right indeed. Definitely got to be patient with yourself. Indeed. That's right indeed. And don't even have to be a doctor either to be patient with yourself. That's right. Indeed. Gotta be patient.
Right. Yeah,
Right
because
indeed.
anything worth doing is going to be a challenge. So enjoy the journey. Enjoy, because for me at times I can get frustrated that I'm a very goal oriented person, and I'll make one achievement and just celebrate every step along the way and celebrate every milestone you hit and enjoy the journey.
Yeah. That's right indeed. That enjoy. That's right indeed. Enjoy the journey indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Doesn't have to be just all out, it has to be inward too. You have to enjoy it from the inside all the way out. That's right indeed.
Mm.
That's right indeed. So speaking of joy, I know folks are going to have some joy when they snag all copies of your magical books for the kids in the family. Heck, even kids in the neighborhood, heck, even if there's any librarians or even school librarians listening. So my goodness, so for those need to keep up with your journey and cop some copies of your magical books, what's the best way for folks to do so?
They can buy books on my website at TonyaDuncanEllis.com. And my books are available on all online retailers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all online retailers. They can also follow me on social media at Tonya Ellis Books on Instagram and Facebook. And I'd love to have you join my community.
Woohoo! That's right indeed, folks. Go ahead and join that community indeed. That's right indeed. Tony's got you covered like a blanket, y'all. That's right indeed. You will have success as a children's author if you so choose, if you decide to learn from her indeed. You might even put a turban on your head with a Sophie Washington gem in the middle. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And then one day you'll be able to rule the land from a camel. That's right indeed. A camel carrying all the children's books indeed, because that camel's built for freedom, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, before a random penguin appears to get the freedom too from the camel, is there any parting words for our folks before we close up shop, Tonya?
I want to thank you for having me on the show. It's been great, and appreciate you giving me this opportunity to share my journey and my books. So thank you so much.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.